Hello and welcome to the Wireless LAN News Desk. My name is Tom Carpenter. I'm the CTO at CWNP. And this week, we're going to do something a little bit different than we normally do. Instead of talking to you on camera, I'm going to take you into the 802.11 standard. We're looking here at the 802.11 2016 standard. And what I want to talk about is something found in clause 12.2.6, and particularly toward the end of the clause. This is a clause on RSNA assumptions and constraints. So, what are the assumptions and what are the constraints related to implementing a robust security network association link? And there are several clauses and sections that deal with RSNA. But here we have some of the assumptions, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and so on. But there's a constraint at the end that I want to address. There are often situations where people have enabled WPA on their wireless network, and they wonder why it all of a sudden slows down. So I want to talk to you about the standard, what it says related to WPA, or what the standard calls Temporal Key Integrity Protocol, TKIP, and RC4. Note this statement. An HT station shall not use either the pairwise cipher suite selectors, use group cipher suite, or TKIP to communicate with another HT station. Let me simplify that. An HT station shall not use TKIP to communicate with another HT station. So I've taken part of it out, but I wanted to simplify it. Here's the thing. What this statement says is, first of all, a shall statement. A shall statement is a requirement. This is a requirement of the standard. If a device does not implement this rule, it is not a standard compliant device. And what this rule says is if you use TKIP, the Temporal Key Integrity Protocol, WPA, you cannot communicate as an HT station. So an HT station will not communicate with another HT station. Well, how in the world could we implement this in an 802.11 device then that still supports WPA today? The answer is that the device that is capable of being an HT station, and HT is high throughput, 802.11n, right? A device that is capable of communicating as an HT station will instead communicate as an OFDM station or an ERP station, depending on if it's 5 gigahertz or 2.4 gigahertz. So the point is that it's going to throttle back to a maximum data rate of 54 megabits per second. And that's probably not what you want out of your wireless network. I mean, you bought these great 802.11n devices some years ago, and you want to take advantage of them. So when you do have devices that require WPA for some reason, and for some reason you still have to use them on your network today, here's the suggestion. Create a different SSID that is just for those devices. Because if you mix those devices in with the rest of your devices and use WPA in order to accommodate them, you've just slowed everything down to 2003 or 1999, depending on if you're talking about 802.11g, 2003, or 802.11a, 1999. Do you really want to slow things down to 15 or nearly 20 years ago? Probably not. So instead, use a different SSID. The best thing is get rid of those devices that only support WPA and move to WPA2. Now, the next statement in the standard is equally important. It says note. So when 802.11ac was released and ratified, rather than having to rewrite the whole statement, they just added a note. It says note. Because a VHT station is also an HT station, the elimination of TKIP also applies to VHT stations. So, in other words, simplified, let's take the whole thing and make it simple. An HT or VHT station shall not use TKIP to communicate with another HT or VHT station. So 802.11n, 802.11ac, you're throttling them back 15 to 20 years ago if you use WPA on those networks. So now you know, if you've ever done it and it slowed it down, you know exactly why. They're simply doing what the standard says for them to do. Now, we want to talk about one other thing, but before we get to that, I want to remind you about Wi-Fi Trek. You can go to conferences.cwnp.com to learn more about it. There, we have posted the schedule, the hotel and venue, and so forth, so you can understand more about what's there. There's a section, Explore San Diego, that tells you about the San Diego area and what you can do there. There's a section that allows you to justify your attendance so that you can find good information to communicate with management about why you should be able to attend the conference. We look forward to seeing you at the conference. If you haven't registered yet, make sure you do so soon at conferences.cwnp.com. Now, one more thing on the news desk this week, and this time we're going to macobserver.com. Here's the news. On July the 5th, Apple releases Wi-Fi update for BootCamp 6.4.0. Can be updated through Windows. Okay, so here's the thing. Mac devices can use BootCamp to boot into Windows. And as you know, the KRACK vulnerability came out last year. Now here we are 6 months into 2018, and suddenly it's been noticed that BootCamp is vulnerable to KRACK. So if you're running Windows in BootCamp, you're vulnerable to KRACK attacks. It lets you know an attacker in Wi-Fi range may force nonce reuse in WPA unicast PTK clients. So they released a patch for BootCamp to make it so that this KRACK vulnerability is not there. It's kind of a late patch for a KRACK vulnerability, but I'm sure we'll still see more of them. It is important for you to know that this update has been released. So if you have not yet noticed it, if you have not updated your Mac systems, go ahead and get them updated today. Well, that's all I have for the news desk this week. Short and sweet, but hopefully you've gotten some good information and you can explain to other people why it is that their Wi-Fi slows down when they use WPA. It's not that WPA is somehow that much of a slower encryption system or something. It's that they're complying with the 802.11 standard and they're intentionally slowing it down to the OFDM or ERP PHYs. Thank you for viewing. And if you haven't already, make sure you click below to subscribe so that you can know when new posts are available, and you can click the alert button to be notified as well via email. Thanks for viewing, and I'll see you next week.